Did you ever check out that video, the announce trailer
For what?
for that game that I posted in Discord, that the day before thing to you and Philbilly, you and Filthy?
Uh, no, I don't think I did, but I'll watch it right now.
It's only a minute and 28 seconds.
Welcome to the short gameplay demonstration trailer for The Day Before, an upcoming open-world multiplayer survival game.
Let's see what we have here. All right. I found a great cowboy hat. Tell her everything's all right. And there aren't any more guns in the valley. Easy, cowboy.
Looks pretty cool.
Doesn't it? It kind of has
Maybe too scary for me. I don't know.
It's kind of got like State of Decay 2 vibes, but with like survival battle royale sort of feels to it too. I don't know. It looked really interesting to me after I'd watched it.
It does look good. I just wonder if it'll be scary.
Yeah, right. Can we just talk about the terrible voice acting though that they always do in those weird gameplay trailers to make it sound like it's a player?
Yeah, it's always like, oh, that was a little bit scary there. He's like in an elevator. He just threw grenades and got in a gunfight. Did you hear that shit down here? Shit got wild.
Shit got wild, right? Right. I don't think I've ever said shit got wild in a video game in my life. Or where he's like, I just found a sweet ass cowboy hat. All right. It's like, I love it.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and you have decided for whatever reason to tune into another horrible gaming podcast. And I am not alone, nor am I ever alone, but I am joined by a special face.
Yo, what's up, old man fan? Philbilly 330 here, back again, once again, onto the podcast. Yeah, it is special, all right. I am filling in for Neil as we are recording on Super Bowl night, and he had a prior engagement.
Yeah, he had a lot of people coming over, and he asked for the day off, and he is diligent on most of the things, so no problem, Neil. Have fun. And we'll see him back next week, as per se usual. I think since Logan, anybody who listens to this is like afraid that anytime a person isn't on here, that they're going to get replaced. But before we get into the show, we need to do some credits. If you are watching this on YouTube, you have noticed some fancy graphics. Those are supplied by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. And then, of course, the theme song for this show and all of the music here on OMG is provided by the man who makes the music, my brother Nick Van Sliders, and we thank him for that.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our first segment, but before we get into it, I just want to say thanks, Philbilly, for filling in, jumping on the show. We really appreciate the help, buddy.
No problem.
But our first segment, probably our most favorite segment, that is Fans for Action. That's where we, the co-hosts, talk to you guys, the fans. We read out your comments in all the places. And yeah, we open a dialogue with you guys. We usually use your votes to decide the horrible arena, and why we will be using them for doing a little voting this week. You will get an extra week to vote on me and Neil's last pick, since we won't be doing a horrible arena this week. So, let's get into it, Philbilly.
Alrighty.
Kev Tutal starting us off. I meant to vote last week. I'm sorry. To which I said, you don't have to apologize, laugh out loud. Guys, you don't have to vote. If you don't want to vote, don't vote. Or if you forget to vote, it's fine. This is a fun show. I don't want any of our fans to feel like this is a job or work.
Hey, the episode in which he didn't vote was a tough one to vote on, to be honest.
It really was. It really was. Conceptually, it fell short of good, but we all make mistakes, so we will move on from that. And Kev Tutal said, Neil, gotta watch that sodium intake. It's gonna get you before you know it. I'm talking from experience, and this is about nut dust. To which Neil responded, honestly, I need to watch my everything intake, laugh out loud. Which I have to concur with that. Then Kev Tutal, keeping it going. Neil gets my vote after careful deliberation with myself. After leaving World of Warcraft, I vowed to never be excited for or interested in a game with no defined end. Zach pitched a nearly perfect games as service game. Money printer go brrr. So thank you for that, Kev. I appreciate the fine words, even though you voted for Neil. And then Kev also answered our question, which was what non-game games are you into? And he said currently Dragon Ball Super, trading card game, and Magic the Gathering in Commander format. So thank you for
That's
sharing
fair.
with us, Kev. Those are great. I love good trading card game.
I used to play the Dragon Ball Z trading card
Yeah.
game back in the day.
Kev did too, because I played it with him back in the day. I do want to say, Kev, if I might make a recommendation, and this is digital, unfortunately, but check out Legends of Runeterra. It is an amazing card game for the digital sort of thing, and yeah, I'm actually pissed because I can never access it again. But yeah, if you're into it, there's something happened with my account. So if I were to play it again, I would literally have to start from the beginning and grind out all my decks again. And I don't know if I have that in me. So before we continue, Philbilly, since we have you on the show, which one are you voting for?
Yeah, I was gonna put in my vote, and then you asked me if I'd join, so I figured I'd just enter it live. I actually have to vote for Zach's game. Although I am not big on Doctor Who, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
The premise got me because I don't have to play the Doctor, because my big
Right.
problem is I don't like how what's the word, like, non-aggressive. What's a
Pacifist. Yeah.
pacifist? Yeah, I'm not a pacifist type player, but with me being able to choose the way I play the game, the concept, everything sounds really cool to me. And Neil's game sounded cool too. It's just I'm not a big
Right.
a puzzle game player, and it sounded like it might have fit better on mobile. And I just don't tend to play many mobile games or anything.
Yeah, that's fair. I personally, yeah, that's my biggest problem with Doctor Who games on a whole is that, and I like, obviously I like the pacifist angle because I've watched Doctor Who for like 13 seasons now, but a big problem with the game though is it's the same problem that a lot of the licensing stuff hits is they always try and make you play. Like, people want to play in the world. They don't necessarily want to play the exact same thing. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
you make that work is really difficult, and I feel like this game would really allow you, like, freedom in the Doctor Who world, and I think that would be a lot more fun than just, like, trying to recreate a Doctor storyline, you know?
Yeah, I would agree.
So, now we have to do one other big one. We have to do this because Kev put the work in. And I got to do it. So I got to hop on over to Discord. Here we go. All right. So like 2 weeks ago, we asked, actually you took the reins and asked what people wanted the Ubisoft game to look like. The Ubisoft Star Wars game, yeah. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago that you did that, and you posted one. So me and Neil responded, and we said our own as well. And then Kev said he had one, and then just didn't tell us what it was.
And his is cool too.
Yeah,
So
he finally told us what it is. So here it is. So my massive Star Wars game takes a big notch out of most paper RPGs, and that is modules. The core game would be a MMO RPG that encompasses the universe as a whole. In-game economy and control will all be player-driven in that players can own shops, sell in an open marketplace, and if you fight for an empire and win battles, your faction is gaining that control. Those who want to avoid the imperial struggle would obviously live in the Outer Rim worlds and keep off the radar of the Hutts and the player-controlled bounty hunters they employ. Now here's where the module really get to come into play. Let's say your character is on Tatooine and decides he wants to bet on some pod races. Well, yes, these pod racers are driven by players in NPC, but some of those drivers are not playing the MMO. They are playing Mos Eisley Pod Racer, a very sim-style racing game that links to the MMO. They can communicate with MMO players for sponsorship, outright selling their pod, all while being able to build and design their own racer. This is a simple explanation of how the multiple games would interact. Squadrons would be a great candidate for a part of the War Sim module. Star Wars Universe, coming never to PC or console near you. Sad face, sad face. You responded to that and said, very cool implementation of an MMO in my favorite universe. And I said, very cool. It also has notes of EVE Online, as I noticed. And yeah, I thought this was really cool. It's a really cool idea. You'd really have to, do something no gaming company has done before, which is kind of link a bunch of different games together, you know?
Yeah, like I was thinking, it's an awesome premise. I don't know that it's exactly possible, at least nowadays, or that maybe it is, but I don't think anyone would do it. But
Yeah, I think
no, it sounds awesome.
I think it's possible. I just think you'd have to have a developer or a big company really commit to it, you know? And just be like, all of our Star Wars games from this point on moving forward is going to be part of this thing, you know? And
yeah, and I mean, it would be, you'd have the player base. I mean, Star Wars is the biggest franchise in the entire world.
Yeah.
So, that's actually a fact. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think it might be rivaled by Marvel, but that's it, you know?
Yeah, it has the, I actually was, because I'm a nerd about it and research it. Yeah, that actually surprised me. I thought Marvel was bigger, but
right. You would think so.
I think the reason I think it's bigger is because until as of very recently, Star Wars has kind of been a more dormant IP, but I guess the fan base is still there.
I think in a lot of ways it's cross-generational too. I think that whether you're a nerd or whatever social class you're from, your parents watched Star Wars and made you watch Star Wars because it was cool back in the day, and then that carried through into the next generation. So you've got 4 or 5 generations in Star Wars. You know what I mean? Whereas comics were a niche thing back in the day, now they're really big, but back in the day they were a little bit more niche, so it's harder to have that generational inclusion, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would love to see that. I'm always scared of player-driven economies, and it sounds good, and then I always end up in it, and I'm like, I don't want to be part of this anymore. And EVE, man, EVE's barrier to entry is just, in my opinion, astronomical. As a person who actually tried to play it for a hot second, and a buddy of mine, Sean Seatown, if you're listening to this, he's a big EVE player, and he actually sent me this special how to start EVE sort of guide. And part of me is "Whoa, this is cool, I could get into this," and another part of me is do I really want to try playing a game that I need a special guide to even try? You know?
Yeah. The only thing that scares me about the concept that Kevin threw out there is how he said you could run shops and stuff. In premise, that sounds awesome, but being an open world MMO, you know that there's gonna be this group of idiots that don't really role play it, and they just go and they're like, hey, I don't have enough money to buy this, so hey, let's all 6 of us go and just kill this shop owner.
Now that's true, but I do want to point out, Phil, one thing that is awesome about some of these kind of economy games is that while you do get those people, you also get some really cool people. There's this group in Eve, and the only reason I know about this is C-Town was telling me about it. And basically all they're called, I think they're called the fuel rats or the gas rats or something. Basically anybody who belongs to it, all they do is they like hoard fuel because it's easy in that game to run out of fuel just in space and be adrift. So what they do, they're completely PC operated. If you call them, they show up with gas. Like they just set up an organization all by themselves to help other players fuel themselves, and they're so beloved that if people actually attack them, which happens on occasion, the community rallies against them. So you get those too, which is nice.
Well, if those defenses are in place, then it could work.
Yeah, it depends on like who you got and how much of a troll group it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
'Cause I know with like the Knights of the Old Republic, what would happen is, or the Old Republic, people would like finally ascend to Jedi Master, and then all the bounty hunters would just team up, and like 30 of them would kill him because he became a target, immediately.
right.
And that dude just spent like a year of his life to get there and just got smited by 20 guys.
And I think it's tricky because I think it really relies on smart gameplay design with that kind of thing. Because if you're not careful about how you reward your players, like if those people are rewarded for killing that guy, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like they're gonna go after him every time. So I don't know. I feel like you've got to set up your game in a way that promotes, you want some people to be pirates because that's kind of cool,
No, absolutely. It's just
Right.
not realistic in the world for 20 bounty hunters to all go after one Jedi for
right,
clout.
right, exactly. So I think there's something to be said about like designing it in an intelligent way where there would be no reason for those people to do that.
Yeah.
All right, but that's fan interaction. Unless you got anything to add to it, brother.
No, I think that's about it for me.
All right, well, let's get into our first talking point.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so first talking point today, and since we're not doing a horrible arena, we might do 3 talking points. We're kind of doing some weird off-the-wall stuff because, as you've already figured out, this is kind of an impromptu show. So first talking point, me and Phil are just going to talk about something we really, really want to talk about, and that's Outriders, man. We might be the only people in our community excited for this game, but god damn it if we are not excited.
Oh yeah. I even promised myself to not get excited for this, just to temper my expectations, but I've been seeing more and more. There's some people who have access to the game as it is now, and it just I've been researching on it. Just seems perfect for me anyways.
Right. Well, I think gaming as a whole needs a couple more wins too, Medium and the Hitman 3, great. I'm so glad that they got good reviews. They're not ultra buggy right off the bat. There's not a lot of controversy around them. But still, like, gaming as a whole is like, we need some more wins. And I feel like Outriders is poised to give us a little bit of a win, especially with, just to announce this to everybody who doesn't know, while the game is not coming out till April 1st, there will be a free playable beta on the 25th of February. Now, we're not exactly sure how long the playable demo is or how much content is available in the demo, but we do know you will be able to play every one of the classes, and all of your progression will, in fact, carry over to the main game.
That's right. And you best believe that myself and Zach will be streaming that the day, or at least close to the day it drops. And I will be developing builds for each class to like starting builds, obviously, because it's the demo. But I'm going to start breaking that game apart because it just sounds perfect for my brain.
What are you thinking right off the bat? Like, of the 4 classes, which one are you most excited about?
I've found myself becoming most excited for the class that least excited me in the beginning. Like I felt so. For those of you who don't know, there's the Devastator, who is like your tank close combat specialist. So
And
like
he's
your
the one with the
melee
rocks, right?
brawler. What's that?
He's the one with the rocks, right?
Yeah, he has like some earth control, like he can slam the ground and like spiky rocks and shit come out.
Yeah.
And so there's him. There's the Technomancer, who seems to be like your long range specialist slash jack of all trades. He can be built as a pet class, like with he has turrets and like machine guns. He can, you know, morph into battle while he stays behind cover. He can also, he's the only class that actually has a uh, healing. Uh, I'll call it a spell because I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what it is, but
An
um,
ability, I guess.
yes. So he can also, he's probably your guy if you want a support type class as well. Then there's the Trickster, who's kind of your glass tank, but deals insane amounts of damage. And he what he does is his kind of specialty is he kind of teleports around the field. So teleporting close, get your kills, teleport out of combat. He has a shield that acts as kind of like an overhealth system.
He also
Um,
manipulates time a lot, which is what I find so
yeah,
attractive
yeah,
about
he
him.
can slow down time on single target or I think on small AOE like type moves. And then you have your Pyromancer, who is my least favorite that I'm gonna play them all. Don't get me wrong, but I've become most excited for him because he's obviously pyro. He's a fire specialist, but he's kind of your mid-range go-to guy. Like he has some assault rifle skills in his trees, and um, he also has a melee tree where you rely on putting dot uh, damage over time effects on your enemies, and enemies that are marked with DOT. When you kill them, that's how you regain health with him. That's what's cool. Like the way combat is in this game, it's kind of pushing you to um, be to regain your health. You need to be aggressive. So like with the Pyromancer, you mark targets, you kill those targets, you regain health. With the Devastator, you regain health as you kill with melee attacks. Um, with the Technomancer, he has the skill that, as I said, he can actually heal
Heal.
people.
And then I believe the Trickster is all about backstabs, right?
Uh, I think his health regain is it's something about the mark. I'm
Mm,
not exactly sure how it works. I think it has something to do with when he uses his teleport thing.
right.
If he marks that target that he attacks or
Right.
something like that.
It's very interesting. I'm having a hard time with the classes because while the Technomaster seems to be a little bit more my style of my mode of play, at the same time I love the Trickster's powers so much. Like just that time manipulation, slowing down your enemies, speeding yourself up. I think that's just so cool. I've always been a big time travel guy, so I think that just attracts me. Even so, I don't know. I'll probably try him first, and then also try the Technomancer and see which one I like the best.
Yeah, they're all really cool. I don't think you can go wrong. And what's nice about this game, it seems to be like, hey, you want to snipe? Yeah, the Technomancer might be the guy to do it, but that is not your
Right,
only option.
right.
Like you can do what you want with whatever class, especially because I mean, I don't want to get too long-winded without you
Nope.
talking, but they
No, go for
they
it. We got plenty of
they
time, man. We're missing a segment. We gotta fill in 90 minutes.
they really allow customization the way I think no game has done it as of yet. I think Borderlands gets close, but they have the way they've done their customization, you can actually upgrade weapons. So like if you find a weapon you like, you can carry that for longer by upgrading it. I don't know what resource you're spending to do so.
That's kind of like Godfall right there.
Yeah, kind of. I almost hope they do it a little better than Godfall, because Godfall you can, but there is a limit to it.
Yeah, there is.
And I guess there has to be a limit in a looter game.
Yeah.
But the way the loot is divvied up is more like a Destiny approach as opposed to a Borderlands approach too. Which the nice thing about that, while I'm not a Destiny guy, Borderlands, because there's loot explosions all the time.
Yeah, we
You
talked about
don't
this.
get that sense of like, hell yeah, I got it. It's just like puking guns all the time. But
Well, and you can't. It's not about doing a thing to get a thing. Like one of the cool things about Destiny, if you don't mind me cutting in for a second, is like the Black Forge missions. You would pick like this is a specific type of weapon I would like to get, and instead of like having to go fight this one dude 77 times until your specific weapon drops with a 0.5 drop rate, what they do is like, okay, you can have this exact type of weapon. First, you have to go here, do these 3 things. Then you have to go here, do these 3 really hard things. Then you have to go actually forge it at this site, and it's this special mission that's going to take a lot of time and effort. And that's what's really cool. I love the idea of a quest just to get the weapon I want to get, you know?
yeah.
And I would much rather that than just weapons showered on me all day, all night, and they're just garbage, you know?
Yeah. Yep, for sure. The other cool thing, you can mod your weapons, and what I thought was really cool with this is modding your weapons can actually add, let's say I'm playing a pyromancer, I can find a mod for the weapon that allows me to make a stone shell around my body, which is actually the Devastator's one of his skills.
Right.
So your mods can almost allow you to cross class your character in a way.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
I thought that was awesome. What else? There's going to be a lot of speed run potential in the end game, which I happen to enjoy that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not a speed runner, but I've always, like in Borderlands and the raids and stuff, I
Right.
like being able to solo things that aren't supposed to be soloed. I'm not the fastest at it, but I do it, and that in itself is sometimes impressive.
Right.
You can easily respec your character. It doesn't cost you anything. So if you go down a certain tree and you didn't like what you wanted to try a different tree because each character class has 3 trees,
Right.
you can respec at any time. I'm hoping that they have the ability to save
Loadouts.
a loadout,
Yes. Yes.
which is something no game has impressed me with the
I
ability
keep
to
almost interrupting you to add something, and then you say the thing I'm about to add right before I get to say it.
Sorry.
No, you're
hyped
fine,
about
man.
this one.
I'm really hyped about this game too, and skill loadouts are amazing. It's something I wish Godfall had because I switch them around constantly. I think right now my only concern about this game, my only concern is the Godfall concern, and that is Godfall is technically pretty sound. I mean, it's got its bugs. Anybody who's been watching our Let's Plays has seen them, but like on its base level, it's pretty good looter, but there's just nothing else to it. The story is awful. There's no extra story content. It's short. There's not a lot of stuff to do in the game. There's like 3 activities that you just do over and over again, you know.
Well, if you haven't heard, this game supposedly has a pretty in-depth story, and
Yes.
actually the end game adds to the story.
Yeah, I have heard that, and that's what I'm really excited about. Is I feel like this could be the one that really shows what these kind of games can do when they're done right. And I feel like like I said, like I'm not trying to be down on it. I'm saying my only concern is that's the only way, because everything I've seen, it's technically sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's how I feel about this game. I feel like they've showed us enough that I'm like, all right, technically, this is everything I want. The only thing we really haven't seen a ton of is the story and how it's implemented, which you really can't until the game comes out, and all the activities you're going to be doing, you know? So, like, that's the one thing I still need to see to be happy, but I really think that they're going to have it. I've got very high hopes for this game.
Yeah, I do too. It's also cross-platform, which is something that I always hated about the other looter shooters like Borderlands. So
Yeah.
if I start making builds and stuff and you guys need help, it don't matter if you're on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox. I can, play with all of hopefully the community that we can build around this game.
Well, and that's just something that why are we still doing that at all? You know, like I've been thinking about getting
Money.
I guess money, but it's like you make just as much. Like I don't think you lose that much by just making it cross-platform. You know, like I don't know. My For Honor account, like I've been thinking about buying it on PC because I don't necessarily love playing stuff on my Xbox anymore. What bothers me about that is like I'm gonna spend that money on it probably. Like that's just something I want to do, and it will carry my progress over. But I can't play with my brother on Xbox. Why? Why? Like if I can get my progress from my Xbox, why can't I play with my brother on Xbox? Like, why does it hurt?
They want your brother to buy it again, too.
Yeah, but
for
he doesn't
play-
even have a PC. So
they don't-
honestly, it's actually hurting their chances to get my $25 because I might not buy it on PC because Nick's never going to get it on PC. So what's the point? You know what I mean? So like
I know.
in one way I see where you're coming from, but at the same time like there's a chance I just don't even get it on PC. So you're losing out on that money. Like I don't know, I feel like more freedom is just better for everybody and it makes you look better and people want to spend more money on you, you know?
Yeah, I agree. The only concern I have with Outriders is they don't have much. I mean, they have an end game, but they have said it's not a games of service,
Ugh.
which I think is refreshing in some ways. And they don't exactly what they said, but this isn't a bad thing. They said that they will explore DLC if the game is successful and there is a want for it. So if I had to make a guess, they already do have some DLC plans and started, and they'll know fairly quickly if the game's going to have the legs it needs to make
Right.
it worth sticking that extra money into getting that stuff polished up and sent out.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really getting sick of the way people avoid that term. First of all, if your game is always online and it has to always have an internet connection, it's a games as a service. I don't care what you tell me, what you put in a press release, what you like. If I have to constantly be connected to the internet, it's a games as service. Just call it a games as service, own it, and make it good. I don't understand why there's a problem with that.
See, I kind of disagree with you a little bit there because games as service has become this thing where it's okay for these companies to just dump trash out and tell you, well, it's going to be better later. I think it's bullshit that these games like Cyberpunk and stuff, people are being like, oh, well, it's a games of service. In 6 months, it'll be good. I don't give a fuck
Nobody
about
said
6
that's a
months
games as
down the
service,
road.
though. That's not a games as service. Like that's not a games as service, even remotely. That's a
Okay,
story
Destiny
solo
is a
player.
games of service.
Yes,
It was
Destiny is a games of
trash for 6 months. It was complete garbage.
I mean, it played. It didn't have any bugs. It still worked. It just didn't have as much to do as other games. It didn't have the activity pool yet. That's not bad. I mean, it wasn't like Cyberpunk that came out and was absolute trash. It just didn't have enough stuff for people to do.
I don't
That's
know.
why
I don't
people were
always love
upset.
games of service. I don't like the Marvel's
Well,
business
and that's
plan for their
trash.
games as service. That game was trash.
That game was trash, and I'm not disagreeing that that game was trash. But that game was trash not because somebody said it was games as service. That game was trash from the get go because it was buggy and it was messy, and that's why. Like it didn't. It didn't necessarily mean that it was the games as service model screwed anybody over, and that's my problem. Is it's like company like that's the example. Cyberpunk 2077 is not a games as service, and it's trash. Story games can be trash just as much as games as service. People are so afraid of that using that term now because people are just gonna assume that it's bad when just
No, but
make it
people
good,
automatically assume that a games as service has microtransactions, and that's a correct assumption. This game is claiming there is 0 microtransactions.
Well, and that's great that there's 0 microtransactions, but I still have to always be connected to it on the internet. I feel that is games as servicey right there at its core. I mean, and
That's
I'm not.
just how it's gonna be, I think, from now on.
I mean, okay, then I mean, a lot of
So
these
you
games.
want every game to be called a games as service if it's online?
I mean, yeah. If it always has to be online, like if I have to log in to an internet service provider to play the game, it's a games as service. If I have to access a server off-site, it's a games as service.
No, because that's what they use to patch. They do hot fixes and stuff via online connectivity.
Well, that's fine, but
So
that makes
then
it.
just make yourself feel better and pretend that every game from now on is games of service, and you'll be all right.
I mean, I'm not going to make myself feel better because there's plenty of games that don't need to be online, don't need to receive those patches or updates to play. Like, I mean, it's a fact that if it's always online, that's ridiculous. I mean, it's not ridiculous. It's just call it what it is.
So you're okay with calling Borderlands not a games of service because you don't have to be online?
Yeah, although I feel like they're very games as servicey, but you don't have
Because
to
if
be
you
online.
play not online, you're playing a trash version of the game.
That game came out as trash, and it wasn't. They never called themselves games as service.
I know, but
I mean,
'cause
that's
you
what I'm
don't have
saying.
to
Like,
be online,
yeah,
so it's not from your justification. Is all
yeah.
I'm saying.
I think you're missing the point of what I'm saying, though. I'm not necessarily saying like I'm saying that like people need to stop just avoiding a term because they think that term will necessarily be trash right off the bat. The term doesn't make the game trash. What I'm saying is the game being trash makes the game trash.
I'm just saying, in Outriders' case, I think they're claiming it's not a games of service because there is no microtransactions, and there is no such thing as a games of service without microtransactions.
I don't know if I agree with that.
What game is a games of service that does not have microtransactions?
I mean, yeah, but I don't think of a games as service as a game that has to have microtrans. That's what I just said. Like,
I think
don't
that's
agree with
part
that.
of the definition, though.
I mean,
Personally.
we're splitting hairs at this point. I don't want to like go down this games as service road all day. I want this game to be great. I'm sick of people avoiding a term just because they don't like it.
I'm just glad that it doesn't have microtransactions.
Well, and that's fine. It cannot have I'm not saying it's bad that it doesn't have microtransactions. That's not what I was saying either. I was just saying that like I'm sick of people just deciding that a game is bad because of a word that's attached to it. You know, and there are plenty of games out there that are great with microtransactions.
Yeah, I mean, some would argue that Destiny is a great game.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I think every game requires its own kind of thing, whatever that thing is. It's just I like that specific phrase is just like it's like it's if it's said, everybody's like, oh no, it's not that. No matter what, it can't be that. And I get a little bit sick of that. Like, I mean,
I know a lot of people that love microtransaction games though, too. It's not just it's not you're
Right.
saying everybody hates that term. I don't
Right.
think that's true. There's a lot of people like you that do because they look at it as a games of service is never going to die.
Right. I think we're in a minority, at least in the mainstream media of gaming, which I probably shouldn't have used that term, but in the mainstream media of gaming, I think on a whole, people immediately look at it as a bad word. Not necessarily all the players. I'm just saying, like, most people are so quick to say that their game is not games as service, like right off the bat. And that's,
Yeah.
I don't know that that's always right. I think that avoiding that term is not really necessarily a great idea, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the good stuff, though, of the game. I do kind of have this kind of suspicion that they delayed it a little bit just because of the Cyberpunk thing. But on the upside of that, while we're not getting the game as fast as we wanted, can we just talk about how awesome this free demo idea is?
Yeah, it's perfect. It lets people make an educated decision on whether they want to buy that game or not.
Yeah.
And they're not getting it's even better than like a beta
Right.
because they're actually playing the beginning of a finished product.
Right. I mean, I think that, like, I think every game should come with this kind of thing. I really do. And I think that this is kind of the best example of some self-regulation by some developers, you know, by saying, like, we're going to put this out. You will be able to see if you like it because the refund system is so bad. So you can make that informed decision, you know?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Monster Hunter Rise did it wrong.
Yeah.
And I think this is the way you need to do it. Like, I'm less and less, not to talk about Monster Hunter, but I'm less
we're
and less
fine.
excited for that game. Partially because I just don't care for the Switch. I'm growing to dislike it more and more every time I play it.
Blasphemy in the world. How dare you say that?
I know I am definitely the minority on that one. I just don't like it.
I understand all your gripes. Like, honestly, I do. I've had a lot of the same problems you have, and the only reason I fight through it is because of the portability of it. If I couldn't have the Switch, like, if I had to play the Switch connected to a TV or something like that, I would never play that system. Like, it would just never happen. I would always pick another game. The only reason Switch gets as much play with me as it does is, like, if somebody's using the TV and I don't want to watch that thing, I can play the Switch instead. If my kid, I have to sit with my kid for about a half an hour when she's going to sleep, when I do that, I can play the Switch. You know, I am 100% in agreement with everything you don't like about it. The only reason I keep playing it is because of that portability.
Yeah, I get it. If I want to play a game like that, I want my DS back on some little games that I can just go play Pokemon in the corner and not want to play socially. I'm such a social gamer, and the Switch is trash for.
Oh, it's
like,
trash.
I can't even like easily play with you. Like,
No.
I fear that even if we both get Rise, like, I can't even easily play with you.
We will literally have to connect through Discord on our phones to talk to each other. And
Yeah.
to even message, there isn't even a private message system on Switch. Like, what world is that? Like, you can't even message somebody through their system. Like, hey, do you want to play with me? Like, you can't do that. You literally cannot even invite them to the game unless the game itself has software to do that.
Yep.
Which is, God, it's absolutely the bottom of the barrel for multiplayer play. Like, it really is.
Yeah, and just I am a multiplayer type person.
No, I get that. I totally get that.
But what led us down this rabbit hole is what I was getting at was that Monster Hunter's demo wasn't you playing a completed game. So you play the demo and you find some things you don't like, and you're left with the question, well, is that how it's going to be in the game, or is that just because it's a demo? Whereas Outriders is actually giving you the game, a small
Right.
portion of it,
Right.
but it's the game. So
Yeah.
you're going to get an actual taste
Right.
for what you're going to do, making the most educated decision on whether or not that game is for you.
Right. I'm in complete agreement with that. I think that, like, that's really a key. Is like you, like, Monster Hunter Rise is like this weird custom section that you might get a reward for when you buy the game, but whereas Outriders is literally like the first section of the game that you can play and do whatever you want with, and that's amazing because right off the bat you can be like, I want this game or I don't want this game. And if every game out there coming out had to be delayed 3 months to do this, do it. 100% do it. Then I won't have to fight. I'm still fighting with CDPR for my refund, which I'm never going to get. But still, like, it's ridiculous. There's no system for this in our industry. It's terrible travesty. This kind of stuff needs to happen, though. Developers, publishers, they need to start self-regulating, or the government's going to step in, and the government never does anything right, ever. So, like, I don't want to see that. I just don't want to see that.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I did hear for 2 to 4 hours, they said, depending on play style and how deep you get into the beginning.
Oh, man, how much can I ring that orange for is what I'm thinking.
I could tell you if I really like it, I probably will play that demo all the way up until release, because I will just keep replaying the same shit, grinding out and trying to get the best loadouts that I mean, I know there'll be trash loadouts because it's so early in the game, but it'll be cool to go in with a huge game plan of where I want to take that character to the end, you know?
Well, and I know you're the build master. You know what I mean? I know how much I've spent a lot of time around you. I know how much you love to just like do the math on like character stuff like that, and there just really hasn't been a game like that other than Borderlands 3, and Borderlands 3 just keeps getting worse in my opinion. And I don't want to go back. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but
Yeah.
like you just haven't had anything. So I feel like this is definitely your game. But we definitely need to move on unless there's anything you want to add.
No, I think I covered it. I'm just really excited for Outriders.
Oh, so am I. So am I.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our second talking point, and some interesting news out of video game world. We're not quite sure what the implications of this are going to be, but since I have a dude who's all about Borderlands, or used to be all about Borderlands on the channel, I figured we had to talk about this. Gearbox has been purchased by the Embracer Group, which, in case anybody is really keeping track, that's basically THQ Nordic, which now owns like all games. So, this could have some sweeping implications. One thing, Gearbox has not been the greatest in the PR lately, mainly due to, it's no secret. You and I don't like Randy Pitchford. He's kind of giant.
He's a dick.
He's kind of a giant douche. So on the upside, I feel like this might be good for the developers because they've been screwed by him multiple times. I feel like having an actual company own them might actually get them some normalcy so that they can get out from under his thumb.
Yeah, that's true. It could be a danger for Borderlands itself, the IP.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's hard to say.
Well, with THQ Nordic owning the Gearbox stuff, that means that like literally any THQ Nordic developer can now use, I mean, with of course their permission, but can now use any of Gearbox's IP.
Yeah, but I just know that although he's a douche, Pitchford does play a large role in Borderlands, especially.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's planning on sticking around, but if he is, the question is, can he handle not being the big dog anymore, and will he continue to stick around? But that doesn't mean that someone else can't come in and make another Borderlands game.
Right.
And hell, maybe they'll do the right thing on Borderlands 4 if it comes out and do what the actual players wanted, not what they seem to think the players wanted.
Well, I'd love to make a speculation about that and see if you agree with it.
All right.
I kind of feel like if I had to, like now with hindsight being 2020 and Borderlands 3 being what, like 2-3 years old at this point, I feel
almost 2, huh? It'll be 2 in October.
Two.
A year and a half.
Okay, year and a half. I can kind of look back, and personally, the thing that I feel hurt Borderlands 3 the most was they just tried to do Borderlands 2 again, just bigger. Like they didn't add anything really new to the system. They didn't really innovate in any way. They didn't really push anything. Like, I don't know. What's your take on that? Like, I feel like almost Randy Pitchford, or not even Randy Pitchford, but that mentality, which I feel like came from Randy Pitchford of 2 was good. Why would we change it? Is kind of what hurt him a little bit. What do you think?
See, I kind of feel the opposite.
Okay.
I think they tried to. Okay, remember, obviously, me and Zach are a little bit different types of Borderlands players.
Yeah, definitely.
So I tend to judge based on the end game because that's where I spend most of my time.
Okay.
And I think they changed the end game formula in all the wrong ways.
Okay.
Because they brought the raids that were, well, I'll take that back. One of the raids was cool.
I know exactly where you're going
Raid
with
at
this.
Malawant Takedown was cool. But they got rid of all of the raid bosses as in the way they were in Borderlands 2.
Like hidden in and stuff.
Yeah, where there's this thing called Iridium in Borderlands, and in Borderlands 2 it had a value. In Borderlands 3 it means nothing because you
Right.
don't spend it on anything other than upgrades that you're done with halfway through the main campaign.
Right.
But I could go, if I knew this one particular raid boss dropped this gun I was looking for, I could just go pay Iridium, fight him, kill him, hop out, do it again, where they stuck the raid bosses behind actual raids now. So, that 5% chance of Wotan in the third game had a 4-gun loot pool, let's say. And if I wanted to fight Wotan, I had to fight 40 minutes through. That's an exaggeration. I had gotten it down to 20, but even most people
20
took
is a
40
lot.
minutes. Yeah.
When you got a 0.5% drop rate, that's huge.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there was no way for me to pay any in-game currency Iridium
So
to jump to Wotan to just fight him and be done. Like, I felt like, as far as the main story, I'll agree that they didn't innovate much, and it hurt them, especially because they didn't have the amazing villain in the game anymore, Handsome Jack.
Right.
Which I understand that it didn't really allow for it, and it would have been a cop-out to just throw him back in there.
Yeah.
But they went about it in this weird, like, I don't know. Like, I didn't like the villains. The Cringe Twins.
No, they weren't great.
They were these streamer. It was supposed to be a joke. It wasn't funny. They weren't funny.
No. It honestly kind of felt like a big slap in the face from Randy Pitchford, personally. I kind of felt like it was him giving everybody the middle finger kind of subtly. But before we continue, I do want to just... not counter, but actually say I don't think we're that far apart. I think it's just the way we were looking at something is a little bit different. So you're saying that like they didn't, they innovated too much on the end game. But let me run something by you. I'm like, when I talked about innovation, I'm not even necessarily talking about the story. Like, if you did Wotan and it was 20 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever, and you only have that 0.5% drop rate, yeah, that blows. But what if you were doing it for a specific weapon you knew you were going to get, or you could pick the weapon that you were going to get before you went in? Then the 40 minutes would feel good. What I felt like needed the innovation wasn't necessarily the story. It was how they did their loot system.
Okay, that's fair. So looking at it from your lens, what I would say is they innovated too much wrong.
Right. Yeah. That's fair.
So I would say they did innovate, but they screwed it up.
Right.
I guess
or the parts that they innovated weren't the parts that needed the innovating.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, either way, I think that
I'm not in disagreement with you. I just look at it a little bit different. That's all.
We're having a disagreement day. Me and Philbilly don't have a lot of those. I'm just kidding.
No, but
I'm
this
just
one
kidding.
Actually isn't.
No, it isn't. I think we're in. Personally, I think the overall sentiment is the same, which is I feel like fresh blood might help the franchise, honestly.
Yeah, it could.
The thing that I'm nervous about, that I really want to see, because they really haven't announced how this is going to affect, because Gearbox, what people don't realize, Gearbox is not just a developer. Gearbox
No.
is a relatively large publisher. They have a lot of IP under their belts that they don't develop in-house. You know, Godfall being one of them. There's a strategy game that I can't remember the name of. I think it's Homeworld. That's another one under their belts. They have a lot of games under their belts that I
They
want to
have
know.
the
What
Aliens franchise.
yeah,
I think.
what is the fate of those games? Like, are those gonna go to TH Nordic, or are they cut loose? Like, those developers, those second party to Gearbox developers, what are they gonna do in the wake of this? Like Counterplay Games and those kind of things. You know, they haven't really told us. You know.
Yeah, it's kind of up in there. I would assume they would go, follow Nordic or be offered the option.
I mean, Gearbox does not own the IPs or the
No, they're just a
developers that they
publisher.
publish. Right, they just publish for them. So really it's up to the developer, but at the same time, it's also up to THQ Nordic or Embracer Group. They can say, hey, we don't want to publish your games. And then those developers are just out in the cold. So I will say I want to see what happens with that, honestly.
I would hope that another publisher would pick them up if
Yeah.
that were the case.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Honestly, I'd love to see Counterplay Games take a swing at Borderlands. I know that Godfall is lackluster, but I feel like a lot of that was due to budget and rush constraints. I feel like if someone...
that game got the shaft.
It really did. It really did. But at its core, it's fun. You and me both agree. I feel like if you gave that that kind of an IP to them and just said, hey, you take as much time and money as you need, I feel like we could get something really special out of that company.
Yeah, I will say, I won't, now that I've played so much of it, I won't say Godfall's a good game, but it's not the game's fault.
No, it really isn't. It's
not a good game, but it could have been.
Yeah, it could have. There's potential. I don't know that I wouldn't say that it's not a good game. It's just not a memorable or great game. It's like run-of-the-mill. You're there's nothing...
They did so many things good, too,
Yeah.
and they fell flat because of, lack of support in the back end because it did so poorly, and then the fact that I think it just got rushed because it was a PlayStation launch title.
Yeah, I think so too, and I honestly think that's one of the reasons that it almost seemed like their relationship with PlayStation had kind of gone to hell even before that game had come out. You know.
Yeah.
So I feel like that might even be part of it. But all right, well, is there anything you want to add to this subject, or should we just move on to odds and ends?
No, I mean, I think we can move on. It's kind of a lot of speculation right now. We only know what we know, and that's all.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot. We know that Gearbox is now owned by Embracer Group. We're not exactly sure what that will break down to be in the end, whether that's going to be what those second-party developers are going to do and who's going to get those IPs. I think it would be really interesting to expand on the Borderlands universe with some side games that maybe aren't just your straight-up looter shooters. I think that would be interesting, too.
Oh, I agree. I think you could make a lot of different types of games with that IP.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Tales from the Borderlands Season 2. Fingers crossed we get that at some point.
Yeah, they talked about that, back before Borderlands 3 was launched.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, they made reference that they might do it, and then they never did because it ended in a cliffhanger. But still, we saw Reese, so something happened. It's weird.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to odds and ends, and yeah.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to odds and ends. This is the part of the show where we like to catch smaller news stories that don't necessarily deserve a talking point, but we want to share with you guys anyway. Now, as you guys know, this was kind of a haphazardly thrown together show. So Obviously, Phil did not know he was doing the podcast until earlier today, and when he knew, he had to spend 3 hours here overseeing Blaze Phillips and Ziggy Vans doing their commentary. So it was a little bit of a thing. So obviously, I'm not expecting you to have any odds and ends, but I have collected some. So if you just want to riff on them, buddy.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so the first thing I want to talk about, because you are a Call of Duty person, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Call of Duty has announced, it's through an investor's call, so it's not like an official announcement, but everybody knows it's real, that they are still keeping this franchise annualized, and there will be a Call of Duty this year. You got any thoughts about that?
Dude, I don't have any idea what it could be. I mean, they just launched what's it called?
Black Ops.
No. That was last year.
Oh, Cold War.
Cold War, yeah. They just launched Cold War a couple months ago.
But it's Black Ops Cold War.
Yeah, it's
because
weird.
it's the
They,
sequel to
rolled
the
them
original
together.
Black Ops. Yeah.
And I don't all I play is
Warzone.
the free to play Warzone.
What's
So-
interesting to me, Philbilly, is I actually and you can disagree with me because you are way better you know more about this than me, but from what I have seen, one of the things that everybody was concerned about Call of Duty doing a battle royale in the first place was the fact that they're an annualized franchise. You're going to have to buy the game every year, whatever. But since they made Warzone free, they've kind of seamlessly integrated the new stuff. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Are you talking about the new weapons and stuff
they moved. I know there was a problem with the battle rifle for a little bit, but when they switched to the new game, they just kind of moved Warzone forward. You could still play Warzone for free. You still got to buy the other stuff. It didn't really affect anybody that much.
No, it didn't. The big disadvantage to being like me though and not owning the game is just the fact of leveling up weapons.
Right.
Because if I owned the game and had multiplayer, I could go in a multiplayer match with that said gun that I wanted to level up and I could get 30, 40 kills because multiplayer's on extremely small maps and it's just a bloodbath.
I got
So I have that disadvantage. I have to play tricks on, I just run contracts on Plunder. It's really boring, but it's the only way that I can efficiently somewhat level up weapons.
Right.
So it is easier to unlock and level up things if you own the game. I just don't personally. I play Call of Duty for weird reasons.
Yeah.
I don't really love Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I just love the people that I play Call of Duty with.
If the
I've
people
gotten
you were playing
decent at
Call
it.
of Duty with were playing PUBG, that's probably what you would be playing.
Yeah.
Right. I think personally, I think there's got to be a law of diminishing returns. I've said this before on the podcast. I think annualized franchises are dumb. Beyond recognition in gaming. I think you need at least 2 years between franchises. When you annualize franchises, you always get behind and you end up with 2K20.
Yeah.
Eventually you won't be able to put out the game that you want to put out. And not only do you end up with 2K20, you end up with Assassin's Creed Unity. Every time you get an annualized franchise, eventually, 5 or 6 in, they peter out. Even Call of Duty had to take a year off break before they came out with World War II. Now you've got a pandemic situation going on, and you're somehow going to make another one.
You know why I think they get away with it though? Have you ever noticed that Call of Duty shuffles back and forth between its Treyarch and
Yes.
Raven something?
They actually had 3. It was Treyarch, it was Sledgehammer, and then it was one other one, and it was Raven something. It was just like what you said. The Raven something was brought on recently for the Cold War campaign. They weren't.
Yeah,
normally...
they're supposed to fix it.
Right,
to be honest,
right.
but-
So like, but it was only two. It's only two now. It's like Sledgehammer and Treyarch, I think. But Infinity Ward was the third one. Infinity Ward was the third. It was
I thought Infinity Ward was the Warzone thing.
one of them got folded. Like one of them got folded into another one. So there's only two doing them now. And I don't know. I honestly don't know. I haven't kept up with it that much. The thing that gets me is you now have a free way to play the multiplayer, a free way that is probably infinitely more popular than your normal way of playing it. I don't know. I feel like how are you going to keep like this is a multiplayer game? How many people pay $60 to play that story?
It's a good question because
You
I
know?
know a lot of the guys that I play with. They owned. God dang it! What was it called before this Cold War? It was
Modern Warfare.
okay. So a lot of them bought Modern Warfare and did not buy Cold War. So I thought in my head that Cold War didn't do that great, and
But
then
it
I
always,
find
yeah.
out that Cold War like sold more than they've ever sold.
Right.
So it just so happens that my group didn't jump on the Cold War wagon,
Yeah.
probably because they play. I don't think they ever play multiplayer anymore because they're always on with me every night that I play. So how
Yeah.
much can they really play the game?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know. You're right. It does keep selling every year, but I feel like there's going to come a point where, especially, like, okay, so Warzone came out. Well, Modern Warfare came out. Warzone was not free when it came out, right? It was
No.
bought. Warzone went free about 6 months in.
Yep.
Then 6 months later, Black Ops came out. So, Cold War came out. So what you had is okay, everybody bought Modern Warfare because they wanted to play it. Then 6 months in, Warzone goes free, so some people jump on. But the people who hadn't jumped on yet and want to jump on fully, they buy the Cold War.
Yeah.
The next one I feel like is the one that might take the hit from it because at that point everybody's like, okay, we're all on Warzone now. What are we doing? Like we're not going to spend $60 for a 4-hour campaign that isn't really that great.
Yeah, because the general consensus of at least, I mean, obviously I'm pulling from a small portion. There's a lot of us, but the general consensus is that you either play Warzone or zombies. And
Right.
and so how many people are going to buy a $60 game if all they're really I know it's not all they're getting out of it, but if all they're really looking forward to it is a zombies game.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next couple. These ones.
I will say
Okay.
real quick
No, go for it.
that even if what you're saying does happen in the diminishing returns, they will be just fine on what they make off of Warzone.
Yeah.
Because although it's free, most people I know for a fact do not play that game like I have.
Yeah, but here's the thing. At some point, you've got to say to yourself, all right, we're making more money off the free thing than we are losing to make the new thing. So let's just switch over to Warzone and put that money into something else, like our beach houses or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
In any case, to move on, these ones you're not going to have as much to say about. That's why I wanted to talk about that one first. The next, this one's a little bit smaller. The Prince of Persia remake, the original Sands of Time remake through Ubisoft. I know this is not one that would interest you.
I played it.
You did play I love those games. Those games
It
are
wasn't
like
bad.
those games I would play for nostalgia. You know what I mean? Like those were games that like hit me at a certain time, at the right time. You know what I mean? Like that just like I don't know, got the feels up when I played through all three of them. So, like, I would definitely get the remake of that just for nostalgia. However, it has been delayed. It had a March release date. It has been delayed, and they have not given a release date. And I hate to say this, but I think it's going to get canceled because it got a lot of not-so-love when it was announced. So, as much as I want to see this game and would pay for it if it came out, I'm very scared that we're never going to see it.
Why didn't it get much love? Do you think it just doesn't have the fan base it needs, or
No, because they're doing like they're calling it a remake, but they didn't add a whole lot to it, and the graphics that they showed when they showed it were kind of like they were better than what it was when it came out on the Xbox 360, but it was nowhere near what they're at right now. So a lot of people were like, "Why are you doing this half-assed?" You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just didn't get the love that I think a lot of people wanted, which is kind of a bummer because I would love to see that game.
Oh, I do have one.
Okay, hit me.
Maybe you already had it, but your remake kind of got me. Your Mass Effect remake?
Oh, I think you actually hit one. That's exactly what mine is, but go for it.
Is it about the fact that they've edited the game
They
to
took the
take
butts
away?
out, man.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? That's the best part. Is the nudity. Like, are you nuts? Like, you did take the butts out, man. I want to see the butts in 4K. Why can't I see the butts in 4K?
Yeah, I was reading all this stuff that the
Yeah.
SJW movement has caught up to Mass Effect, and now there's no butts.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. That actually isn't one of mine, but I almost put it on here because I was like so bummed when I saw that. I was like, why? Why are we
I
taking
don't
gratuitous
even know
butts
anything about that game, but I did hear about that piece of news.
You can fuck aliens. It's great. It's absolutely great. Like you like it's a great RPG. There are very few RPGs, especially in its time, that gave you the amount of player choice that it gave you. Like, you could make a character, and every conversational decision actually had an impact on the story. And that is something that is amazing. It's never around. You always end up getting stuck into this hamstring ending. And while the third one did kind of have that hamstring ending, which, I mean, how are you going to end it at that point? You got to do something, you know? The first two games, like, you can move through those games so differently than other players. And one of the cool things is you can romance characters. Like,
And we all know how much you love digital romance.
oh, I love digital romance. I'm a digital whore, man. I'm monogamous in real life, but when it gets into video games, I'm going to collect me some space STDs.
It never caught me in any games I played.
Never caught you? My Fable
I
character
always
had
just
collected
fed-
like 72 STDs or something.
Yeah, I played Fable. I never really played with that aspect of it. It never did anything for me, I guess.
I don't know. There's just something. There's something sick about me, Phil. I'm not gonna fight it. There's
That's
definitely
fine.
something
Obviously,
sick about
there's
me.
more than just you that are into it.
Yeah, but there's what I liked about it is you could actually like pick a woman or man that you liked and build a relationship with them that felt realistic, which very few games have that. You know what I mean? They're either like relationships that are hamstrung in and you might not even like the other character, you know, or there's no relationships. Whereas this one, you could actually like, I'm into this girl. I can actually romance this girl, and it carries over from game to game. Like, I thought that was a really cool thing that they put in there, you know? Okay, so since you said Mass Effect, I'm just going to go right off Mass Effect onto my Mass Effect thing. So recently, I can't remember the actual outlet that did the interview. Some of the developers of Mass Effect Andromeda were actually interviewed on, Andromeda and what happened and why it was the way it was. And the guy actually said there was a couple of reasons that he didn't think it turned out great, and one of them was budget. The actual parent company did not give them enough money to make more than 2 new aliens. Period. So, like, one of the biggest complaints about Andromeda, because you had the original Mass Effect, I know you didn't play Mass Effect, so just to bring you up to speed, the original Mass Effect introduced like 20 or 30 alien species that you could interact with. Some of them were teammates, some of them were people you fought, some of them were just NPCs that you met. They were all interesting. They all had these interesting codexes that you could read about them, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Mass Effect Andromeda, while I did love the game, actually only introduced 2 alien species to the mix. Whereas the whole plot of Andromeda is your characters are like launched from the original galaxy to a completely new galaxy to explore it. So like, why isn't there like a ton of races over there, you know? So it was a big disconnect for a lot of people. And they basically said they didn't give us enough money. And every time we presented a race to them that wasn't humanoid, they X'd it because people wouldn't be able to cosplay it.
Man, why would they cut funding on a franchise that was doing so well?
So well, people wanted that game. They wanted it big, but they were like, they only gave us so much money. Anytime we presented, and the cosplay thing is just insane to me. Like, that they were like, you can't make any races that are like, because their answer to the whole only having 2 humanoid races was, we'll make some jellyfish races. And they're like, you can't do that because people can't cosplay as it.
I mean, I know cosplay is a big thing, but that can't be all of your market.
Right. You definitely, if you're only giving them money for 2 humanoid races, allow them to make some non-cosplayable races just to make the game better, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That was a rough one. And then finally, my last big odds and ends, and this one is kind of important to me. Though I don't know how much you would be able to contribute to it, because I know you didn't play these games. WB has successfully patented the Nemesis system from Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor. And
I understand. I haven't played those games, but I do understand how that system works.
well, so you understand why it's one of the coolest systems that's come out of gaming in like years. Here's the downside to this, though, Phil. Because, like, this is bad. I know a lot of people are like, oh, they made it. They patented it. That's great. Because they
no one
patented
else can use it.
That is exactly right. Nobody can make a one-for-one copy. Nobody can even have it, like they can sue anybody as long as they can prove that it's close enough to their code. And that is a super big bummer because I would love the WB. I would love the Nemesis system. I've talked about I can't count the number of games.
Yeah, you pitch it for a lot of games,
do.
It makes you wonder though. They just copyrighted. Why didn't anyone try it before?
Exactly. And they've said that like the copyright goes into effect on the 28th, and they're not sure if a game were to release before then with it whether it would matter. But yeah, after this, it's not even copyright patent. After this patent goes into place, literally WB is the only people who can use the Nemesis system, and that is, man, I want the Nemesis system and everything. I can't understand why when that game came out, it didn't immediately have people copying it, you know?
Yeah, I don't either because it is a cool, simple idea.
Yeah, and I just want to go ahead and point out I hate Lord of the Rings. I hate the Lord of the Rings movies. I hate the Lord of the Rings stories. I don't like them. I think they're boring and stupid. And I played the crap out of Shadow of War just because of the Nemesis system. That is how good that system was. It was just that much fun to play with. You never had to do the story because the game was just constantly creating story for you. You know, I never beat the game. I put like 60 to 80 hours into it. I never beat it. I just went around having different relationships with orcs. It was amazing. So yeah, it's a real bummer that they got the patent because we're not going to see that Nemesis system in anything. And right now, WB Monolith isn't even making a new Lord of the Rings game, so I don't even know if we're going to see a Nemesis system in their games.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
It's super unfortunate.
I mean, you would think if someone wanted to bad enough, they could find some sort of loophole, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And you know, change enough to make it work.
Yeah. I mean, and they've already said that like there are certain systems that are near to it, like the Watch Dogs Legion system, and there was another one that they cited that are kind of close to it that would not be affected by the patent. But I've played Watch Dogs Legion. It's a great game. It does some awesome procedural generation stuff. It's not the Nemesis system. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
And the Nemesis, like, just think if the Nemesis system was in Marvel's Avengers, it would not be the trash fire that it is. It would at least have that, and that would be awesome, you know, period. you would look past every bug and every shitty thing that game presented if it had a Nemesis system in its multiplayer. Like, I'm telling you right now, like, that's how good that Nemesis system is, and it's just a bummer that WB, a company who has only used it for 2 games, is the only people who can use it.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's my last odds and ends. We're not going to do Horrible Arena this week, so I think we should just wrap the show there, Phil.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, we'll be right back with your obligatory plugs, ladies and gentlemen.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to the end of the show and the obligatory shameless self-promotion that brings. Philbilly 330, I want to give you big ups for stepping in and helping us out by being co-host this week. I appreciate it. Do you got anything special you want to plug?
Special. I did begin finally writing the, not necessarily script, but my notes for doing my terrible talk. So I'm hoping in the next week or two. I have a busy couple weeks with some side work, but I'm hoping to get that over to Zach so he can edit it for me. Shouldn't be too hard. It's going to be a talking head type terrible talk.
The mythical Philbilly terrible talk. We're excited.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it's about my experience and opinions on the switch from console to PC.
Nice. I like that. It's exciting. I can't wait for it, man. It's going to be exciting. I want to just tout Philbilly's streams. They've been kicking ass lately with the Warzone, man.
Oh yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Getting the guys in. If you haven't checked them out, I've been trying to do them every other week at least.
Yeah. We've been trying to do some streaming here. I've been keeping my lunch stream going, and we also do usually like a Friday night stream once every 2 weeks as well. I think we're going to try and shoot for this upcoming Friday to do a Grounded again. I think you, me, and Filthy jump into some Grounded.
Yeah, we need to explore the world we've been lacking or slacking, I should say, on jumping into that game.
Yeah.
Not because it's bad or anything, just.
The game's great. I love that they're building it as you go along, but you get to a point where it's like, all right, I've seen everything, so you got to wait for a couple more updates before you really jump in and get to the new stuff,
Yep.
So I think we're all ready to do that, and we'll try and do that on stream this Friday, I think. So as far as the other plugs, I want to give a special shout out to a couple of things. First, OMGW is back, bigger than ever. Everybody on the channel has worked incredibly hard on it. Even people who aren't on the channel have worked on it. It is quite an undertaking, and it is every Monday at 4 p.m. It is really enjoyable. I do want to say Ziggy Vance can go fuck himself. He doesn't know how hard it is to run a YouTube channel. He needs to stop bad-mouthing me every time he gets into the frickin' studio, especially when I'm standing right behind him watching him do the recording. It's just mean, and it's mean-spirited, and if you wanted to be paid in more than Cadbury cream eggs, you should have asked in the beginning.
I think he's just salty that he found out Blaze Phillips got paid twice.
I think that's what it is. I mean, Blaze Phillips is driving a Corvette, and he's getting Easter egg candy, but we're going to rectify that. We'll get back to a happy place, I think. I also want to plug new weekly show. 5 things. You guys have always responded well to our editorial stuff, so I've started to do, basically it's just going to be 5 things we want to see in a game that's out. We want to see a game coming. We want to see from a game down the road, whatever. 5 things, and each 5 things will be different. It is premiering, if you're listening to this, today at 1 p.m. If you are watching this, yesterday at 1 p.m., and the first episode is 5 things we want to see in State of Decay 3. And I have already started to go out, talk to community members, talk to people we know on Discord, the Foundation members, and just get their ideas for new shows, new stuff. I think the second episode is going to be on Call of Duty Warzone, which I'm excited to do, although a little bit more nervous since I don't know as much about it, but should be exciting. As far as the normal stuff, you guys can reach us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. The link will be in the description below. You can influence this and all of our shows from there. Please, please, please like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe is the big one. If you know anybody who wants to watch, who would be at all interested in this sloppy mess we call a channel, please tell them, direct them to us, have them check us out. We would love to hear from them as well. We're a very, 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 very interactive community. And as usual, as long as you guys keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you, Philbilly.
No problem. Later, old man fam.
All right, we're out, buddy.
Alrighty.
It was a damn good show, I think. All things considered, it was great.
I would agree.
But thanks for helping me out, man. We never even talked about the fucking zombie game. Shit.
Oh shit! I forgot.
I made you watch that.
Down.
I made you watch that, and I totally forgot to tell you. Doesn't that game look cool? And we totally forgot to. Dude, have you checked out the Grounded credits yet?
No, I need to watch
Oh.
it. This is the first night I've gotten on.
Oh, it's so good. When you're done here, it's only 11:40. Go over to Grounded before you get in anything else. When you open it up, just click on the credits option and just watch the credits and listen to the song. It is fucking hilarious. The fact that it's in there and I never knew it just made me laugh. And if this ends up a bonus or the cold open and people out there are listening, go into Grounded, go to credits, click on it, listen. Hilarious. Trust me.